This video is sponsored by Star Trek Fleet Command. Have you ever wanted to go where no man has gone before? You know, into space? Well, now you can, and you can just use your phone to get there. Technology. Star Trek Fleet Command is a 100% free-to-play, open-world strategy MMO available on iOS and Android. Basically, whatever you're playing. And as you could imagine, because I'm talking about the game, it has a little something for everybody. For lore bugs like me, it has a gripping campaign featuring well-known characters that you can unlock in the game as officers, and different choice-driven narrative arcs that update each month with new content. And for people who like to play with their friends a lot, you can enjoy forming alliances so you can dominate the universe together. Or, of course, play as a freelancer in the neutral zone. Specialize your entire fleet with research trees, send officers out on resource missions, and build your own perfected spaceship. All to make sure you earn friendly renown with other factions like the Klingons, but survive those who will attack you on sight. And right now they're doing a limited time giveaway in honor of Star Trek Discovery's Michael Burnham. So if you were to reach level 5 today, you get Origins Burnham as an officer in-game, and if you reach level 10 by February 10th, which is forever away, you'll be able to tier up Officer Origins Burnham to rank 2. So what are you waiting for, Commander? Click that link in the description below to meet me in the stars today. And now, on to the video. Hey everyone, Bandit here, and it's time. I finally worked up the gusto to be able to cover not just Undertale or Deltarune, but the biggest and most mysterious TobyFox character of them all. So mysterious, in fact, that we don't even know for sure what he looks like. I am, of course, referring to the one and several shattered pieces of WD Gaster. But I figured for a character this meta that has potential tie-ins to literally every other aspect of either game, I would, in contrast, start small, with a relatively lower impact theory that builds off of what most people already assume about Gaster while still remaining interesting. Very, very interesting. I will still go over who and what WD Gaster is briefly in this video though, in order to ensure everyone is on the same page for better understanding. If you'd like a more in-depth look at Gaster though, allow me to recommend some amazing videos on the web that were uploaded recently, like this one from Misty Sparkles or the Gaster Egg series from Two Left Thumbs. I'll link to those both in the description below. Anyway, very quickly, Gaster is, or rather was, a scientist from the world of Undertale, as far as we can tell, of course. He wasn't just any scientist either. He was the royal scientist who worked for the Monster King Asgore, with his entire work's purpose being to harness the power of determination, which is a feeling or substance, apparently, that comes from humans, which monsters cannot normally contain within their own bodies. This is proven to us visually when Undyne literally melts away in front of our eyes after being determined enough to refuse to die temporarily in the genocide route. Something that only a human can do and survive, apparently. Anyway, Gaster's experimentation, if successful, would presumably have enabled monsters to do that thing that humans can do, where they can just refuse to die and live on. However, Gaster fell into one of his creations, which shattered his physical body across time and space, prompting Asgore to hire Gaster's replacement, Alphys, in her predecessor's absence to continue the research. And now Gaster is this supernatural element in the Deltarune universe that, like I said earlier, has possible ties to everything. And this is by design of TobyFox, not even fanon. Again, many of you will already know this, but for those who don't know, we for a fact know that Gaster has reappeared in Deltarune, or in the circumstance of Deltarune, but I'll get to that later. We don't have any visual connections or reappearances of the presumed Undertale Gaster sprites in Deltarune, but we do have plenty of textual and auditory evidence to point to his reappearance. For instance, Gaster's glitchy muse_smile sound that plays in Undertale when reading the missing lab entry 17, which is a whole other mystery that I won't go into in this video, also plays whenever you try to call home from within the dark world in Deltarune. The sound is further described by in-game text as garbage noise, and therefore has a proven connection to Spamton, who was on the phone with someone whose voice sounded like, quote, garbage noise. The sound is also played in the light world area surrounding the mysterious red door south of the town, when you speed it up, that is. When you talk to the cat salesman named Seam in Castletown, and yes, I did that on purpose, not only does his appearance kind of look familiar a bit, but he also says the very, very interesting line, darker yet darker, which is exactly what Gaster says in Undertale's Hidden Lab entry 17. But anyway, in a nutshell, this is what we know is canon, proven, factual information about W.D. Gaster. And I'm pointing this out because everything else is pretty much a theory. Stuff that hasn't been proven yet, so let's get into it. First, lots of fans already assume that Deltarune in and of itself is this next experiment that Gaster was referring to in entry 17, and for good reason. Dark, yet darker, darkness growing, shadows cutting deeper, also known as darkness growing, photon readings negative, also known as darkness growing. Yeah, it doesn't take much faith to make the connection between this and the growing dark worlds of Deltarune, which emit darkness out of them, also known as darkness growing, especially given the other evidence we already talked about. The most interesting takeaway from Gaster's words is that this whole dark world thing is an experiment, one of Gaster's experiments that he must have put into action before his whole time-shattering debacle took place. But one question that might be raised in light of this revelation is, what specifically is the experiment? Is it the entirety of Deltarune as we know it, or is it perhaps just the dark worlds that spawn within the world of Deltarune? I would say kind of both, but especially the latter, for a couple of reasons. One, and this may be minor to some, but as a former indie dev myself, this is very important to me. The menu UI in the light world of Deltarune is exactly the same as it was in Undertale. This is important because it is specifically not the same when you enter the dark world. The menu becomes much more classical RPG-like, if you will. From a game design perspective, this is like 1000% deliberate. Why go through the trouble of designing two separate menu systems unless you were trying to make a statement about something? In this case, clearly that statement is about the difference between the light world and the dark world. The light world is supposed to look and feel familiar even though it may appear different. Does that "You Can Always Come Home" music track sound familiar? Well, it's supposed to. It is literally the same tune as the home music from Undertale, just plus the added Deltarune theme after the his theme portion. In a game which largely features completely new environments and new music, this is also a very telling piece of evidence. To me, this clearly means that there is a difference between the familiar light world and the newly spawning dark world, one that ties in to Gaster. I personally believe that the light world is the same world that Undertale takes place in, and let me be specific, I'm not commenting in this video whether I believe Deltarune is the same or different universe as Undertale. If you would like my complete collected thoughts on that, check out my genocide timeline theory that I will link to below. What I'm saying here is that Deltarune's dark world, as we know it, is probably the experiment that Gaster spoke of, but only the dark world, not the light world outside of it. As far as how Gaster is able to open the dark worlds, I'm not completely sure, but Gaster is a character that is so meta that he literally has spoken to us through Twitter before, like real life Twitter. So there are many ways that could serve as explanations here. So once again, fill in the blank. Now the final question is, what is the purpose of Gaster's dark experiment? Why is Gaster's experiment? Remember what Gaster's entire purpose was as a royal scientist? Before his shattering, he tried to harness determination. He tried to form it into a substance from the human souls that Asgore claimed and bend it to his will. Only things went wrong. We know this not only because of his own self-destruction, but also because of his successor Alphys's failed determination experiments that resulted in the creation of the Amalgamates, which were all dead monsters that Alphys failed in trying to bring back to life with determination. I mean, she was successful, but they became even more monstrous than before. You get what I'm saying. Wouldn't it then make sense that Gaster's next experiment would also tie into his prior experiments with determination, which was the entire purpose of the core lab? Now, we could say that Gaster is therefore experimenting with the only known human soul in the Deltarune universe presently, Kris's soul, by opening the dark worlds and having Kris enter them and yada yada yada. But I think it goes deeper than that. Remember that Gaster is super meta, breaks the fourth wall, talks to us on Twitter. Think about that. Gaster talked on Twitter to us, to you, to me, humans in real life. When you boot up the game and start from chapter 1, Gaster speaks to you, says we're connected. And remember what the first name for Deltarune's game icon was? Survey_program. I still have it on my desktop. A survey, one could say, is a type of experiment, one that tests results, wouldn't you say? And the only person taking that survey is you, the human. He even said it outright right in his tweets on Halloween of 2018. He said, quote, "To be here finally on the verge of connection is quite exciting. Now show yourself, Deltarune," after teasing his next project the previous day. And then we downloaded the survey program, and the first thing he said to us was, "Are you there? Are we connected? Excellent." This implies that the soul that you see materialize in front of you and throughout Deltarune is in fact your soul. Not the soul of Kris, not the soul of Frisk, not the soul of Chara. I prefer to say Chara, not Kara, because Kara sounds dumb. And your determination is what's being put to the test or survey, researched and then experimented on again in a new follow-up chapter. That's how it works. In chapter 1, Gaster was testing how we, the wielders of determination, respond to a lack of choice, which chapter 1 was notoriously void of. In chapter 2, Gaster gave us a familiar genocide-like choice again called Snowgrave within his experimental dark world. And as many fans point out, it's not Kris that tells Noelle to perform the deadly Snowgrave spell, which we can tell because Noelle is talking to you, not Kris. But on the other hand, how would you, the player, even know what Snowgrave is unless Gaster revealed that choice to you? He did so in order to determine how many of us would choose to kill given the opportunity, or something else that he wants to figure out. The point is, Gaster has seemingly discovered a way to connect us to the world of Deltarune, his world, and subject us and our determination to his newest experiment within, his experiment on real-life human souls. Perhaps his shattering across time and space was actually deliberate on his part, so that he could leave his own world and connect to us in ours. Perhaps this is all according to Gaster's plan, his own determination to harness the power of humans, and it all takes place in his dark yet darker experiment, Deltarune. Now, this theory isn't going into any of the nitty-gritty Gaster details like what he's doing behind that mysterious tree, or what his purpose was with confronting Jevil or Spamton and turning them nutty, although an explanation could definitely fit within the parameters of this theory. I mean, if he is the creator of the Dark Worlds and therefore the characters within the Dark Worlds, perhaps he was corrupting them to determine how determined we the humans are in confronting secret bosses, but there's literally no way to determine for sure at this present time. Hey, here's a drinking game idea. Take a shot every time I say determine in this video. Anyway, this is all, of course, just my theory. What do you guys think though? Is Gaster experimenting on us, the real life humans with real life determination? Or am I way off and Gaster hasn't quite broken through that much of the fourth wall yet? Let me know in the comments below. Also, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like below on this video if you enjoyed it to help get it spread around on YouTube, and subscribe to stick around for more very, very interesting videos about your favorite video games. A huge thanks, of course, to my Bandit crew, who help every day to make these videos possible, especially in the holidays. If you're interested in helping the channel remain alive, please consider checking out that join button below or the Patreon link in the description. That's all I've got for this one, so as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This is maskednintendobandit, determined to see you next time, and signing out. Peace!